yes, they're players, but the most important thing is that they're people first.
Welcome back to Life Through Ball.
For me, it all started when I was coaching high school soccer, as they call it, or football, as I prefer to call it. And I was just coaching at the club in high school level. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, at the high school level in Oregon, like, that was, like, the best coaching experience I had. Just those are, like, the two big differences. Like, on the business side, it's much more like, all right, get to your point. What do you want? And I'm like, I get it. It's business. On the coaching side, it's more like, hey, let's chat. What's going on? How's life? How's the family? How are the friends, etc. And in business, like, some people just don't like that. And that's fine. Really.
Does a balance exist when comparing those two sides?
That balance is a bit difficult because I've seen coaches that just are like straight up business with their teams, and that never goes well. The final game for the U.S., it takes place in Los Angeles. And being born and raised near Los Angeles, to be able to go to that game and be there.
And it's all culminated from everything you've done from the very start. Yo, people, what's good, man? Welcome back to Life Through Ball, where we just sit, talk, and look at the deeper layers of football, life, and everything in between. So obviously you got me, T, just sitting back. It's the first time I've introed myself in ages, because usually I'll just like do the intro, yeah, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't say who I was. Well, like, I mean, hopefully, like, if you're watching regularly, you would have an idea, but yeah, if you don't, T here. So yeah, today, man, obviously I spoke about this a couple times. No, I think on camera I spoke about this where I had a setback. So in my episode with KK, talk about setbacks, and obviously my personal setback was having a couple of episodes deleted, which kind of, it hurt me a bit, I can't lie. But you know what, like, obviously, I've spoken about this already in it, so check out the KK episode where I touched on it. But obviously, one of the episodes that got deleted, they've agreed to come back today. So this is a take two. So yeah, we got a man who's been in and around the football industry, a big connector, involved in the coaching, but also really passionate about the well-being and personal development as well as facilitating, but also being involved in some really big business stuff and business contacts. So yeah, we got Rodrigo, man. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me for the second time. Happy to be back here.
Yeah, good to see you again, man.
Likewise.
Man, it was funny, man, because obviously just before the episode got deleted, yeah, I sent it to Rodrigo, and I was like, yeah, check.
I look terrible. I was like, no, we have to do this again. No, we can't allow this to go public.
And then I was like, nah, man, I'll upload this, man, and we'll record again, and like, you know, another time later on when we, like, you know, when more stuff has happened anyway. And then he's like, yeah, that sounds smart. Mm. And then, like, literally the next day, Rodrigo, the episode got deleted.
It was meant to happen.
It was meant to happen, man. So obviously, Rodrigo, man, obviously we got you here. So firstly, like, obviously I asked this question in another episode, but I'll ask you again because you weren't the setback. You weren't a part of the setback, but because it was your episode that got deleted.
Yeah, all good.
I wanted to ask you, yeah, how do you deal with a setback, in any aspect, personal, business, whatever, like?
Yeah, no, I think for me it's always been accepting like what the moment is giving you. You know, in this situation, a setback. You know, depends how severe it is. You know, most setbacks I've had have been failures at things that I set goals to, or projects maybe work related, whatever it may be. But it's about accepting what happened, how you can be better. That's what I always see it as, sort of what did Kobe Bryant say? I was a huge fan of Kobe growing up, huge fan of him, and he once said that the storm always ends. And I remember, I believe it was Kevin De Bruyne who in a big match once said, like, we just have to like manage the emotions through this storm that's coming, and then we'll be fine. But that's sort of how I've always operated. I've always said, like, all right, like, it's just a moment. There's always a bigger picture. You know, things have happened to me that it's not the end of the world. We all make mistakes, and that's the thing I think you have to accept from the beginning. It's like whatever you're trying to set to your mind to, like, don't be perfect, because you'll never be perfect. And when you accept that you're going to something's going to happen, you're going to learn from it either way, positive or negatively, you then apply to your next situation that's similar. And so for me, it's always been like, don't dwell on it. If you want, like, I'm trying to think of examples that I want to share. Well, I mean, I think I'd follow this in any example, so it really doesn't matter. But it's like, let's say I lose a gig or my team loses a championship, whatever it may be. I'll dwell on it for a day or maybe a few hours, and then I say, all right, like, we got to move on. I can't be spending time or energy on that. So that's sort of how I see that.
Okay. I love it, man. And you know what, like, obviously, the way I'm thinking about it now, the way I'm perceiving what you're saying is like, obviously, the storm, you got to manage the storm. But then it's like, okay, it's not in the same scale, but if we talk like a literal storm or a literal like natural disaster, yes, it's detrimental.
Right.
Like, I'm not underplaying that.
Right.
But it's not. It isn't lasting forever, is it? Like,
right, it doesn't last forever. And I guess for me, like, I want to say the storms because it's just me. Like, I'm not married. I don't have kids. So, like, the only storms I could ever face were, like, a job change or situations like that. So, for me, like, when I talk about a storm, I talk about, like, sort of like the everyday issue that anyone would face. You know, I know that some people have bigger storms. Some people have smaller storms. But for me, it's like, all right, if I was working on a project and I screwed up and it cost us money, for example, which, you know, now being 36 and working for, like, 13 years now, like, that happens at the beginning of your career, so you can be better towards, you know, the later part of your career. But yeah, in terms of like putting it in perspective for people listening, like that's sort of the storm I relate to. But like I said, there's different types depending what you do.
Yeah, no, but it's just like the reason I brought like the literal example of what you're saying is just because it fits, kind of thing. But yeah, no, we all face different storms, different battles, different aspects. But yeah, so yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. So obviously, I'm gonna start with reflection.
Go for it.
So we're gonna go with just talk to me. What's been on your mind a lot lately? What's been going on? Like,
I mean, again, it's like I want to say
it could be it's little, small, like just anything.
Yeah,
like.
yeah. No, I think it's like the fact that, as I shared with you, like I was given the opportunity to participate at the World Cup this summer in a pretty big role, which we can touch on in a bit.
Yeah,
also working currently on a few projects at work, you know. We got the Soccer X event, which we're helping them with that event. So that's coming up in Amsterdam in May. So I'm dealing with that.
We will be there, by the way.
You will be there. And then also the client that I mentioned that we just signed a Football Blackbook. So that's exciting there. So working on the consulting deal on the TV side. But yeah, I'd say it's really work related. Like back home, like my friends' family, they're all doing well. Like everything is good there. So I don't really have anything to like think about or worry about. If anything, now it's my friends, all my mates' sanities that recently had newborns, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we don't know what to do." And I'm like, "You're the one that wanted the kid, right?" I'm like, "I don't know what to tell you." You know, I'm like, "I don't know what to tell you." But yeah, I mean, aside of that, yeah, I guess it would just be work related, and I guess also my big stress right now is making sure Real Madrid win the Champions League. I was at the match earlier this week, and we were at City, and we were up 3-0, but the entire time I'm like, you never know what can happen. I was telling my friends back home that are Real Madrid supporters, I'm like, I'm pretty confident. Maybe the game plan would have changed, the situation, the mentality could have changed, so it's hard for me to like say this 100%, but at least from what I saw, if City would have had all 11 men, I feel like they would have potentially at least drawn 3-3 and potentially go into extra time. Again, there's so many other factors that you don't know what happens, but that's what I was watching the first, I think, 15, 16 till that red card came through. But yeah.
Yeah, you were worried about the storm before it came.
I was, I was like, oh, it's Real Madrid, it's like life or death for me. Like, it's life or death, and so I'm like, oh no.
What's something recently that's made you feel like you're on the right path?
I would say it's the opportunity I've been given to support the team services department at FIFA for the World Cup, because as I've shared with you through this time that I've met you and we've been talking, like I want to break into a team liaison, team operations, player care role, and I know this is a big step. So I'm excited about that. And then the other opportunity is what I just shared with you when I got here was the opportunity I got with Onside. And so again, as I shared with you, they run camps for professional teams in Europe, like their preseason camps. And so they were looking for team managers to support, like spend the week with one of these clubs. And so in the coming months, I'll find out which club I'll be supporting. Hopefully it'll be a club from the Premier League, maybe one from La Liga, but it doesn't really matter for me. It's just about showing value and networking. And that I feel like that door's pretty close to opening. So that's what I'm really buzzed about at the moment.
How do you build and repeat these kind of things that you've got going on for you then? How do you build on what you're building, really?
I mean, it's just really, it's networking. Like, they always, at least like when I was a student in uni out in the States, like they always talk about building relationships, networking, like different industries, you know, they sort of hide the, like sort of the sweet jobs and they put the ones that like sort of the grunt work, you know, out there for people to apply, which is fine. But now being in this industry now for over 2 years at this level, now you really see like the way you move in this industry is by knowing people. Like that's really it. Like that is really it. And so I've taken that and I've said, all right, like what's my goal for the week? I want to, like initially when I was starting this process, like I would message people on LinkedIn. I knew I had to do it in mass because not everyone's going to respond. We know that. Of course. And so, yeah, just networking with people, they meet me. And so this relationship with Onsite, for example, came from the MD at Hanover. So I have a great relationship with the managing director at Hanover Club in Germany. And he was like, hey, he's like, I want you to meet my mate Boris. He runs this. And I'm like, all right, did some research. And then Boris and I met. And he's like, hey, Henning told me about you. You're a great guy, XYZ. And then he's like, what do you want to do? And I told him, like, this is what I want to do long term. And he's like, oh, he's like, this is what we're actually looking for in the summer. He's like, would you have the availability? And I'm like, yeah, I'm a contractor, so I can do whatever I want, you know? And so I told my boss at Football Blackbook, and he was like, yeah, he's like, I don't care. He's like, go do it. He's like, you do a great job. He's like, you deliver when you need to deliver. He's like, I'll go do it. So... yeah.
So let's talk about that passion for well-being. We're jumping a bit forward.
Go for
it. Let's talk about that passion for well-being and facilitating and supporting.
Yeah.
And how that comes, where that comes from, and why that's important for you, where you want to do it long term.
Yeah. So the well-being for me is just I think there's just a lot of support that has been lacking in general. Like for me, it all started when I was coaching high school soccer, as they call it, or football, as I prefer to call it, in the state of Oregon, out in the U.S. So I saw a huge disconnect. There were 500 students, 2 counselors. Each one had about 250 students. And you know that, nothing against them, but you know they can only do so much for students, you know? And so the big thing was like I had students coming to my office because I was also the admissions manager there. They're like, Coach, how do I write a cover letter? How do I write a CV? I have this interview coming up. How do I do? Or I'm looking to do this. Like, do you have any recommendations? So I started working individually with some of my students. They're like, this is what I want to do. I'm like, let me give you some pointers, you know, because I've gone through that experience. And then from there, I was like, this is what I want to do, like in the football world. Like I was still getting experience. Like I was putting myself out there in terms of acquiring as much business experience as possible to be like more marketable once I was prepared to take that next step into this world. And one day I randomly started Googling and I ran into the player care group led by Hugo. And I'm like, oh, like this is what I want to do. And so then I registered for the course. And from there, I'm like, yeah, like I want to do this at a first team. And then I learned that not only is there academy player care, but there's first team. And for me, that's more exciting because that's like supporting players, supporting the relocation, the transfers, the family, all of that. And so to me, it was like, all right, like how do you help someone focus on their task? Footballers, you know, they're supposed to deliver. At the end of the day, they're an asset for the club. That's the truth. Like there's no other way to put it. They're a business asset. And for me, it's like, how can I allow them to be the best? It's by making sure they don't have to worry about anything off the field. And for me, I'm like, I'm good at that. I'm good at building relationships, delivering, managing people's projects, whatever it may be. And so the more I started looking into it, I took the course. I'm like, all right, I need to do this. I need to find a way into this. And then from there, I started building my roadmap. And now I'm here, really.
Yeah. So let's talk about what you do. Let's talk about what you do currently.
Yeah.
And like, what you do currently and sort of how you got there. So you know a couple things. So
yeah, I mean, I know a couple of things. So right now I'm the head of football relations / a partner with Football Blackbook. And that was started with by a few of my ex-colleagues and I from Soccer X.
Yeah.
And so we started this venture along with Football Business Television. Started talking to ex-players. We have a bunch of different segments where we talk about the football of business. So that was the business of football, excuse me. So that was like one of the things that, our ex-CEO at Soccer X, who's now, the guy that had this idea, his name is Patrick, great guy. He's like the one that opened the door for me to come to Europe. And so for that, I'm like, yeah, I want to help you. And I also want to continue building with you because he's someone that's always built from the ground up. That's who he is. And so I'm like, that's the kind of person I am. And that's the kind of person I want to work with. And so anyways, we came up with this idea where there needs to be more talk about just what is the business, the business side of football. So we talk with ex-players, we talk with whether it's league directors, club directors, whatever it may be, just to talk about that aspect. So that's sort of one side. We have these weekly shows. We have Seb Basong, ex-Norwich, Tottenham, Newcastle is one of our partners as well. He leads the Players Lounge. So he talks to ex-players that he played with or knows from the world. But then on the Black Book side, we run like specific events. So whether it's our first one we did at Millwall was around peak performance. You know, we had, for example, the head of medical at Tottenham. We had Hugo, for example, help us moderate, talk about the well-being because he was at West Ham, Brentford, Southampton, for example. But we had a bunch of names. And so anyways, we run these events and we bring professionals together. You know, they learn about what's the latest in this world. They get to network, they get to talk, and it was a huge success. And then we also do consulting deals. So whether it's with brands looking to break into football, for example, the one I just mentioned with the brewery that we signed a couple weeks ago, they want to, you know, get their beers into stadiums here in England and potentially abroad once they're ready for that. And we have the network with stadiums. Like we know the people that run those areas of stadiums, and so we're helping them expand into that. Like they got great beer, they have a great product. And so yeah, that's sort of one side. But my job is I manage our relationships with the clubs. So I kind of say I have the cool part because I get to go to like a bunch of clubs throughout not only England but also in Spain and Germany where we have relationships with people. And so I get to go visit them, see what they're doing, what they're up to, bring them to the table if there's a potential opportunity to do something with some of the consulting deals we do. So yeah, I mean that's a little bit of what I do.
So like you're kind of like the not the middleman, but you're like the representative of the
I'm like
of the companies.
I'm the guy that like goes out, like if you call it the front line.
Yeah. You're the guy waving the flag and saying this is what we do.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Bring them together and then develop a partnership in some kind of aspect.
Yeah, I mean, there's an opportunity. So yeah, I mean, a lot of these relationships that I have, like, I don't want to say they carried over from SoccerX, but I want to say like their relationships everyone I've met through soccer, it's like I've nurtured. They haven't just been a one and done, like, hey, we got you to the event, thank you so much, good luck, goodbye. It's always been nurturing them, like getting to know them, and then also seeing opportunities how we can help them, because at least with the smaller clubs, because of budget, really, like, you know, the big ones obviously have millions, so that, you know, for them to like open doors or like have continuous conversations, they have like their processes set up, so it's kind of so for me there it's just managing the relationship. Hey, can we get you to come do this event, or we'd love to have your club at this event. That's more what I take that approach. But with the smaller clubs like in League One, League Two, or etc., from there, like it's about like, all right, what do you need support with? Is there an opportunity we can support you with? So we've had people approach us from, we want to rename our stadium, or the sponsorship deal is about to end with X, could you guys potentially help us put some feelers out there to see if there's some bigger opportunities for us to go after? And because they don't have that in-house, they don't have that specialist. And again, our team has that specialty on the commercial side. Like they've been known to raise millions when they were at other organizations.
Okay,
so
that kind of gets me onto a question that I've asked a lot in my earlier days of doing this platform.
Yeah.
But I feel like you're gonna drop some gems for the people in this with this kind of area, and it's how we come together and networking. How would you? Because I've always said from the very start that the word networking is intimidating.
Yeah, it can be.
Like from the outside. Yeah. Obviously, as I gone to events where you're forced to practice that kind of social skills. Because I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions. I feel like because because networking is basically socializing, right? But then because it's not the word socializing, I feel like it sounds more transactional than it is. Yeah. Because this is my perception.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
Like that's my impression of it. So then, and obviously, like, I think it's a way. I think as well, it's a way of like platforming social skills as an actual skill, not just as like a whether you're introverted or extroverted kind of like. Do you get where I'm getting at?
Yeah.
So, how would you describe your understanding of what networking is?
I mean, it's changed. I mean, if I'll take like, what am I? I'm 36 now, so let me rewind 15 years back when I started sort of networking at 21. So at 21, for me, networking was I'm this up and coming professional. I have really no experience because I was just out of uni at that point, but this is what I want to do. And I started messaging people, whether it was via email or being introduced with my professors, who then were like, oh, yeah, talk to this person. Maybe it was one of their personal friends from their time, like years ago. But for me, it was like, hey, I'm this guy. I'd love to come up. I was in Oregon at the time. I'd be delighted to come up to Portland and take you out for a cup of coffee. And so some people were like, yeah, let's do it. So it was me just getting advice like, all right, like I want to be in a similar role 10 years from now. Like, how do I sort of build that roadmap between now and then? And so one of the greatest pieces of advice I got was in my master's program. So that's after I finished my bachelor's. Like I went into a master's program in Spain, and we had a few coaches from Real Madrid's academy in that program. So I got to know them, and then I just asked them like, "What's like the biggest piece of advice you'd give me?" And they said like, "Get as much business experience as possible outside of football." And they're like, because at the time I thought I wanted to go into coaching. And they're like, what we've seen with people in coaching or management roles within clubs is that they don't have any business experience. And so they're sort of one-sided on that, on sort of that lens. And they're like, if you can bring the business plus the management side together, like you'll be very marketable. And that's sort of the approach I took. And that was just from a conversation and networking. You know, as I've been developing over the years, like if I were to tell you what networking now is, for me, it's about showing value. And so when I reach out to people like in player care, it's like, hey, like, I want to get to know them as people. I want to get to know like a little bit about what they've done. And the reason I say a little bit is because if I'm reaching out to, let's say, the head of player care I'll make it up, at Manchester City, I'm 36. I'm not going to, as a 36-year-old, I'm not going to be, hey, can I take you out for a cup of coffee? You know, that's a waste of their time and my time. But if I can say like, hey, like I noticed that I noticed that the latest trend across Premier League clubs, again, I'm making this up, but is that there's a lot of more foreign players coming in, and a lot of professionals don't have the language skill sets, you know, maybe Portuguese, French, or Spanish languages I speak. Like, have you found that at your club? They may say like, oh yeah, you know, we brought in X, Y, and Z. They're from Brazil. We're having a difficult time. We're thinking of doing, you know, finding an external agency to consult with to support us on that. Then at that point, there may be an opportunity to be like, hey, like, because it's like I'm showing value. I'm not asking him for a job. I'm not saying anything, you know, as a question. They're saying like, all right, this guy knows like what's going on out there in player care. Maybe it's the lack of the language barrier. Because a lot of clubs I spoke with, they're like, yeah, we have foreign players, but we don't have anyone that speaks the language. And so they're sort of like tiptoeing around the issue. And so when I spoke with Hugo, for example, he's like, look, he's like, you speak a lot of languages. He's like, this is how you should this is how you frame your pitch. And so I started taking that approach, and a lot more clubs were open to having that conversation with me. Now I told them like at the time, like, I'm just letting you know, like I'm around, like I'm busy with Football Blackbook, so I didn't want to commit to anything because there was a small club outside of Manchester that was like, look, like if you want to help us out, we're happy to bring you on as a volunteer basis, and that's the approach I've taken. It's like, I'll do it as a volunteer because at some point you're going to see the value in me, and you'll be like, all right, we know this guy, we know how he works. Like he put, you know, he rolled up his sleeves and was willing to do the work for free, and that shows us that he's going to do this like even better when he's paid. But from a networking standpoint, now it's just about me showing value, you know. And again, it's not just a transactional. It's like, let's talk, let's meet. Because again, for me, it's like, all right, I'm going to get to know someone new. I'm going to get to stay in contact with them. I'm going to get to continue a conversation, maybe invite them to an event if I see that there's an opportunity for them. And maybe one day down the road, they'll be like, I know Rodrigo so well, and he's expressed his desire to go into this. We're hiring for this role. Like, let me give him a call, see if he's available. So that's sort of at this point where I'm at with networking.
Yeah, no, I think it is a word of mouth thing, isn't it? It's it's like let's say you're applying for a job. It could be player care, it could be executive assistant,
It could be anything.
office person.
Yeah.
You're applying for this job. Your application. I'm the recruiter. Boom. Let's. I'm the recruiter. Typing up. I'm looking through applications. I see Rodrigo's name. Oh, I know that Sam knows Rodrigo. Let me call Sam.
Yeah.
Sam, I've got your friend Rodrigo, the guy I saw you posted him on LinkedIn. What's he like? He's applied for my role. Yeah, Rodrigo is great. This and that. So then, I'm more likely to hire Rodrigo, who I have a mutual friend with. So I'm more likely to check him out because I value that mutual friend. So I trust his opinion. So I'm gonna be even more open to Rodrigo. Whereas if I see Harold, who I have no idea about, and I'm just
has a great resume, but you have no idea who he is, what he's like.
And that's the reality of getting a job. Like football clubs are always almost gonna hire who they know. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I spoke with a colleague of mine who's in the USL. He's running like their academy player care. And like there's a bunch of like every day on LinkedIn, like you see the post like MLS club is hiring for this. Why? And I'm like, and I asked him, I'm like, you work at a USL club. I'm like, I just want to verify that because I was about to have a chat with the next student of mine. Like he's now graduated. He's looking to break into the sports industry because when we spoke, he's like he sent me a message on Instagram. He's like, can we have a chat? I'm like, yeah, let's chat. And then when we talked, he's like, oh, you get to do all this cool stuff. You get to go to games. You get invited to this and that. And I'm like, and I tell him like, yeah, like it's nice, but it's like there's a path to get to that, you know? Like, yeah, there's the sweet stuff at the end of the road, but in order to get there, it's a long road. So before I met with him, because it was in an area that like he wants to go into on the business side, I'm like, you've seen these posts because they have like an internal employee post board, and I'm like, is it true like when there's a job open, MLS, USL, like they usually already know who they're gonna go after, and usually they already have like a few names that they want to work with. They're like, yeah, for the most part, that's true. Like the job may be out there, but they're gonna hire someone from the MLS network or from the USL network. Like very like you'll get people that come from the outside for like the entry level account manager ticket sales role because that's a tradition. But if you want to get into like sort of the middle management a little higher, like those are, like you said, it's by calling someone like, hey, I know this person. What is he like? What is she like? Let's bring him in. Yeah.
Interesting. So let's go further back. So obviously, let's just quickly touch on your passion, your interest in football in general, and where that comes from.
I mean, I grew up playing it like since that was like the very first sport I grew up playing along with my brother. Like my brother was a better footballer than me. Like it was not me. But yeah, it was just it was around like age, what was it, 11, or it was either around 11 or 12 where I kind of I changed sports. Like I went to baseball. I fell in love with baseball, and football I just left it, and I just thought like I never pick it back up. Then it was around 17, or was it 18? It was somewhere between 17 and 19. But one of my best mates growing up, like he loves football. His brother played football as well. His whole family did. And he still had a younger brother in high school at the time. He was about to finish up. And Real Madrid was coming on tour to the U.S. And he's like, do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, I like her. I still watch football. I just wasn't like passionate to play anymore. And I'm like, yeah, let's go because Cristiano Ronaldo's on the team. And from going to, like, we went to watch him practice at UCLA, and then from there we went to the game at the Rose Bowl. And there was that moment that I'm like, I want to work in this industry. Just like that. Just like that. I want to work in this industry. So then I went into uni, studied economics, but knew like I want to pursue a career in sports. From there, then I built sort of my path. Like I said, I did my master's program in sports management out in Spain. Came back, started coaching with the entire mindset of like, all right, to get where I want to get to, it's going to be a long road. I don't expect it to be easy. Who knows when it's going to happen? I'm not going to say it's going to be at 25, 26. It'll happen like once I've built that map and I'm there. Started running a few clubs in San Francisco, and then met Patrick at SoccerX, stayed in touch with him. And then a role opened up as head of football relations. And he's like, I reached out to one of his colleagues. Now he works with us. His name's Jerry. And I'm like, hey, Jerry, I saw that he put this up. And he's like, let me tell him you reached out. And then Jerry just texted me. He's like, yeah, Patrick's expecting your phone call. So I called Patrick, and he's like, yeah, like we're looking to do this. We're looking to bring someone on part-time. And at the time, I had just left my role as the president of a youth football club in San Francisco. I'd been doing it for 4 years, and I'm like, I need to change. Yeah, I'm like, it was like at some point towards like the end, because I had just had my contract renewal with the president. He's like, all right. He's like, you've been doing great. You've like turned this club around, because it was in a financial ruin. And so it's like now the club was healthy and everything. And he's like, all right. He's like, here's your contract. And I was like, I need some time to think about it, because I'm like, yeah, I could do this again, but now I'm just spinning the wheel. It's no longer fun. No longer like, it's just like I just be taking a paycheck at that point. I'm not that type of person. Like I don't like being bored. Yeah. And so anyways, I was like, yeah, I can go part-time. And so I told Patrick, I'm like, let's do it. So within 6 months, he saw like the value I had, and he's like, look, I want to make this a full-time role. Do you want to come work with us full-time? I'm like, let's do it.
So it's taken them opportunities. So let's rewind even further back, because obviously you said you wanted to get into coaching, and that's what you were doing for a while.
That's what I was doing for a while, so that journey started in 2013, and that went through, I mean, I was still coaching through 2024 when I was still like out in the States before coming over here full time. But yeah, I was just coaching at the club and high school level. Like, I enjoyed it. Like, at the high school level, in Oregon, like, that was like the best coaching experience I had, just because like the kids were respectful, like the parents were respectful. They sort of stayed out of my hair. They're like, you do what you need to do, coach. Like, we respect you. And so like we did a lot of great things. I had a great program, won things, and like overall it was just a great impression of like with the school and what we were doing, like, you know, as coaches, as players. And then also coaching in San Francisco. That was you know, as I shared with you the first time, like that experience, like, yeah, it was great because the kids like were very talented, so that like as a coach you're like, okay, I have this abundance of talent. But then on the flip side comes the, I'm very talented, so like how are you going to tell me like how I should be playing and how I shouldn't be playing?
Yeah. So you kind of got two sides of the coins, which I mean, I think there always comes a time when you're doing something and then it's like you get to a point where you're wondering if you should still do it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about because I think from our first conversation, we talked about we talked about your first high school.
Yeah.
So first high school.
Yeah.
Soccer team.
So soccer team.
Yeah. Let's talk about that and how that played an impact how that had an impact on you and the kind of experiences you gained from that. So obviously, firstly, actually, because obviously in the States is football's quite different in terms of obviously, yes, I know now there are academies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in general, when it comes to sports, though, is high school's like is like
so high school is sort of like the way I like putting it to my friends on this side of the world is like there's sort of your club season, which depending what level of club you play in, like if you played on the basic sort of club structure, it was in the fall, so usually go from like late August through about middle of November. Then there's like a winter break. Some kids maybe play indoor futsal, some just take like the winter off, and there's spring football, which goes from about March, April through the last weekend of May, first week of June. And so a lot of kids, because the club season, for example, that's sort of like the traditional calendar. But in Oregon, the high school season was played in the fall. So the way I like explaining high school football is like, it's sort of like the international break. It's like kids go off for 3 months with like the high school program and they go back to their club. So it was a little bit like that in terms of how like the calendar works. So when I was going back to Oregon, like the kids were with me from so we usually ran summer sessions starting like in the middle of June. We'd go through about August. We'd do a tournament, like a preseason tournament. Then we'd start the season the last week of August, and we'd go through about the first week of November, second week, depending how deep we made a run in the playoffs. And then from there, they'd have like some time off and they'd go to their club to start their winter practices, winter training, and then they'd get ready for their spring season, which would roll a little bit into the summer, finishing like getting ready for the new season. And so then they'd be sort of mixing time with both of us.
So in the States, in general, they just tend to keep the school and the club separate.
Yeah, well, again, it depends because, like, for example, in San Francisco, because it's a much bigger city and there's clubs that have much deeper structures. Like, if you play in MLS Next, which is, like, one of the highest tiers there, like, you're with that club year-round. Like, you don't do high school. It's against rules to play high school. Like, there's actually teams that tried fielding MLS Next players on their high school rosters got caught because in that city, even though it may seem big, everyone in the football world knows everyone. And there were coaches that went and reported to the State Association for High School, and they're like, yeah, your season's invalid. Sorry, you were cheating. And so it just depends on the structure. Like, yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of, that MLS Next is newer though. That's probably
that's
like
more
the
newer.
last,
Yeah,
that's
more
probably
newer.
like the last decade or.
No, I think it's yes. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, the structure has gotten stronger. I'd say like the last few years. But yeah, I mean, they've just been adding more layers, more pathways, and that's always the thing that. I mean, we won't discuss it on this, but that's my biggest headache with American football is that why do you have like 10 different pathways when here and over on this side of the world it's just get in the academy and go from there. You know?
Yeah, I mean, here it's like getting the academy in the linear kind of way. It's getting the academy, and then get the scholar, get the contract, and then play. Yeah. I mean, that's like obviously it's so much more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But then obviously, but even if you get into the you can either get into the academy, get released, go to another academy,
Right.
or you get into the academy, get up to scholarship, don't get the pro contract,
Right.
drop down the pyramid, and then work your way up. Like
Right.
it's not straightforward, but I mean structurally speaking, it's like, you know, you're either getting straight into the team, easier said than done. The percentages are like 0.2.
Yeah.
You're either getting straight into the team, or you're getting you get into a team, but then you might leave and go to another team. There's always dropping down and jumping back up or whatever.
Right.
Like it's interesting because in America it's like obviously you got the college route as well.
Yeah,
and,
you got the uni route, or the semi-pro route, or the maybe I go try a program in Europe route.
yeah,
It's that kind of thing.
It's kind of confusing, like, because I mean there's lots of stories of Americans, and there's lots of Americans on social media that have their football career and they're playing in like the 4th division in Germany or something like that.
I know several, like players from San Francisco that, you know, some are, like one of my good contacts from a club in San Francisco, his son is playing, I believe it's 4th or 3rd division in Germany. But I mean, he's enjoying it. He's trying to make a career. So I'm like, hey,
it's life experience.
It's a life experience. It's sometimes what it takes to get to where he wants to get to. So
that's something that I feel like is kind of undervalued, because like there was thinking of James Rodriguez, just random example.
Yeah.
He's like he was an elite level player.
Yeah.
But I think maybe like in terms of like the perspective of like playing greatness, glory, maybe he might not have reached that as much as he could. He did to a certain extent, like subjective complacency.
Yeah.
But then like when you really strip it back, the guy came from Colombia, broke through in Portugal, lived in Monaco, played his football in Monaco, World Cup, big move to Madrid, played at Bayern.
Yeah.
Like he played at Bayern, played at
Everton. Yeah, that's right. Everton.
He was at Olympiacos at some point.
Yeah.
And
then MLS.
But now he's in the MLS. But like a guy, those are such enriching life experiences.
Yeah.
Like
you live in so many different countries for your family, all that. Yeah.
Obviously, like that. So in that aspect, he's had a great career. He's played at some clubs. He's lived in some really great parts of the world.
Yeah.
And now he's getting to establish and settle himself in the US, which
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Yeah. Not a bad place to go, to be honest. So
like it's, and even like you got Depay, who like he's played.
He's living in Brazil.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm thinking like we as fans, from a fan perspective, we criticize players for we criticize them for why he's only gone for the money, he's only gone for this, or why are you going to that club? But then we're not thinking from the human perspective of
like what are they looking for? Like, is this something that like they personally want? Like Depay has always been a laid back. From the outside, it looks like he enjoys nightlife or whatever. Like I said, that's just an opinion, no fact. But yeah, Brazil, like I know, like having studied learning Portuguese, our teacher was from Rio. She would always tell us how Brazilians are laid back. They like to have a good time. And I'm like, yeah, that's who Depay is on the field. So I can definitely see why he chose, like, this is something that connects with me, like the value, the cultures of the country. Let's go give it a shot.
And I feel like that's an aspect of football careers that maybe when you look at it, it's quite interesting, because it's like, as people that aren't professional footballers,
yeah.
I mean, we'd love to be able to earn a good living. I'm not saying the same amount of money, but we'd love to be able to earn a good living
I know what you're saying.
and live it and live in, I don't know.
Just be pictured on the back of a yacht during the off season. Yeah, that'd be nice, right?
We'd love to have a good living, living in Japan or living in, like, do you know what I mean? And experiencing that culture and that aspect. So what I kind of want to, going back to your high school in Oregon.
Yeah.
It was Oregon, yeah.
Oregon, where it started.
Like let's talk about what are some of the key things you learned in terms of as a coach. And
so it was I think like the reason that like I had so much success there was like understanding that yes, they're players, but the most important thing is that they're people first and understanding like, and the thing was like some of these kids, you know, and again, they were teenagers. So for them, like getting their heart broken from their girlfriend was like the biggest deal. And in my head, I'm like, all right, no, you want to be a bit of a, I know you want to be a bit rude to them, and they're in a perfect world, and be like, all right, come on, it's not like from that perspective, but you have to sort of understand them and be like, all right, because there's always something more behind it. So yeah, from players like telling me this happened, there were players who like came into my office, you know, and I could tell something was wrong. That's why I'm like, why don't you come to my office? And like I would just be like, after practice, I'd be like, come down. I'm like, let's have a chat tomorrow morning. They'd come in, and I would just ask like the simple question. Like I never tried digging for it. Like I always told them, like, if you guys want to share something with me, I'm here. If not, that's completely fine. Like it's up to you, but just know I'm here as a resource. Like I'm not trying to get in your lives, but I can, from experience, I can tell, like from watching you guys, I can tell something's off when you're not being you. And so I had players that come into my office break down in tears because they found out their parents were getting divorced, or maybe like their dog they had since they were a child died. And I'm like, yeah, again, as an adult, you're kind of like, really? But then you're like, they're kids, so you have to understand like why maybe why that dog like represented something to them more than just a dog, for example. But again, me being like personable with them, being a personable person, like helping, like I had kids come into my office like the day before they went and asked like their dance, like the girl they were going after for their dance for a day, like, what do you think about this sign, coach? And I'm like, really? I'm like, come on, guys. But I would be like, yeah, I'm like, it looks good, like go for it, good luck, you know, that kind of thing. But I had those great relationships with them. And again, I was also working at the school, so like during lunchtime I had like 4 or 5 of them come in, we watched like a Champions League game, and then from there I started like a football club. But it was really like I ordered like 18 pizzas, they'd all come in, like all like we had 2 teams, like our first team and second team, what we call varsity and JV. They'd come in, we'd pull down the screen, and we'd watch Champions League eating pizza. I'd bring my PS5. We'd had like a FIFA tournament during lunch. And so like they really, what they saw was like he'll help us out however we need to, so like we're gonna go to war for him however. So sort of like what Mourinho says, like in his like coaching, like I want like the best 11, 20 warriors for me. Like I never asked anything of them except to go out and give their best. And that's exactly what they did. I mean, before I took over the program, you know, they didn't have the best example. The coach that they had wasn't the best example. Like you could tell there was a lot of issues within the club. Some players were put on pedestals over others for it because they could score 30 goals, but maybe they may not be like the most how would I say, like the most relatable teammate. And so I came in and cleaned all that up. I'm like, nope, you're all the same. I don't care if you score 20 goals. I don't care if you're the forward or the center back. Like you're all defending, you're all attacking. And so like they understood, like I want every single person on this team working at the same rate. I don't want anyone thinking that because they're the captain or they're the best forward in the state that I'm going to let you off. That's not how it works. Like, yeah, some kids, you know, because I knew like, you know, okay, they just had an injury or maybe they're going through something and they're giving less in practice. Like I kept that to myself. I didn't have to tell players like, oh, why'd coach let so-and-so like go light today? Like I knew why, but I wouldn't tell the team because that's like a personal conversation I had with the player. But again, it was being personable, being understandable, knowing that sometimes players came stressed. Why are you stressed? Oh, I have an exam. I have all these assignments. I'm like, go home. You're not going to practice today. I'm like, go home, take care of that. I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm not marking it against you. Go take care of that. And they'd be like, why? Like, I can still practice. And I'd say, yeah, you can, but let's be honest. You're stressed about that. You're going to be on the field. You're going to be making many mistakes. You're not going to be focused on what you're doing here. Go do that because that's going to serve you much better. And I always told them, like, you're going to have a longer life outside of the football pitch than on the pitch. So please go take care of your academics. I had players on probation. Players coming to my office, hey, coach, do you have access to the coaching system, to the grading system? Yeah. But like, can you change a grade for me? I'm like, why would I do that? You know? And so it was just that discipline, the being relatable and understanding. And I think that's why we had such a great program and great success.
What do you think these young people needed? So I'm talking about this specific time.
Yeah.
What do you think these young people needed that just on the surface people don't actually see or realize?
I think they needed, at the time, I think they just needed, like, when I see a role model, not a role model like, you know, like you would say your parents or maybe like another family member or a family friend. What I'm saying is more of like a professional that knew what they were doing running a program. Because like, again, like I said, the previous coach like was not the best. There were a lot of issues. There's a reason why they didn't keep him. And the athletic director came to my office. He's like, hey, can you take over the boys program? I'm like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And so, yeah, like I came in, like at first, like, they probably were like, who is this guy? Like, we've seen him on campus, but don't really know anything about him. Like, he's the admissions guy. And so then, like, I remember the first thing I did was I set up one-on-one meetings with every single player in the program. Hey, this is who I am. This is who you are. This is what I've heard of you. I've looked at everything, their grades. Some of them I reached out to their parents because I had known they had like issues like on campus with like attitudes. Some had been cut with like substance abuse type of things like on campus. And I'm like, all right, like, I get it with me, so you have like a clean slate. Like, I'm not going to judge you off something I know that happened. Like, I'm not going to come in with bias, but let me just make it clear. Like, I have zero policy, zero tolerance for these kind of things. And so it's just establishing those relationships from the get-go, which then when we got to the field, they're like, all right, like he knows a little bit about me. I shared about my background. Like, all right, this guy loves football. Like, we know what he's doing. Like, let's give him a chance. And then we started winning. We slowly started winning, and they're like, whoa, we've won more than 5 games. Like, what's going on here? And we started winning. We won league titles. We were in the run for a state championship. And then that winning, they're like, all right, like this form, like there's something here. And then that got them to believe more and more and more. And before you knew it, it was just like, all right, this is an engine that's going at like high capacity. Let's keep it going.
And a big part of that was from the relationship.
It was from the relationships, yeah. Like with that specific team, it was just like we need like a mature adult that knows like what they're doing, that knows how to relate to us as teenagers. And at the time it was helpful because I also had a younger brother who was their age. Like my parents got bored, and like I'm 36, my brother's 35, and then my youngest brother is now 23. So I had a younger brother, and he was like I said, he was in the same grade as them really. And so for me, it was like, when I'd go home for breaks and like hear all the drama or have his friends over and all the stuff, I'd laugh. I'm like, oh, like that's the same thing I hear up where I'm coaching. So like I guess for me, like I did have that advantage where it's like, all right, like when these kids are like talking or whatever, like I kind of know what they're talking about because I heard it from my younger brother and his mates anytime I was home visiting family, and they were all over at my parents' house. So, but that's really what I saw with that team. It was just like, yeah, like can we just get someone that knows what they're doing? And they saw that.
So then let's flip it forward to San Francisco. Yeah. So how did that opportunity come about, and what made you accept it?
So I started coaching there. It was during COVID, because that's when I moved up to San Francisco, and I saw a job post and they were looking for a coach, and I'm like, yeah. And so I applied, interviewed, and then they were going to have a reduced season. So traditionally their season there it goes from, I already even forgot when the date runs. It runs from, when does it run from? From mid-October through the end of February. But because things had just opened up in California, they did just a reduced season of 10 games starting in April through May. And so I'm like, yeah, like, let's do it. Like, I was running a club. I'm like, yeah, my board had no problem with it. They're like, yeah, we don't care. If anything, it's better for you to be out there and, like, putting yourself out there, being new to the football scene in San Francisco, because they're like, you need to build relationships, X, Y, Z. So I took that role. It was great. Like, I had kids. Like, the tough part there was, like, I didn't work on campus. And again, good, because I was done with the whole education thing. I was trying to break into football, was running a club. But these kids were just kids I saw, like, for an hour and a half per day, saw them 5 times a week. And then once the season ended, it was like, all right, I'll see you 8 months from now or 7 months, whatever it was. But the first few seasons, it was great. Like, we had a good team. We built it up. And then the head coach was like, hey, I'm leaving. He's like, you need to take over the team. And I was excited because I saw it a little bit like the boys program in Oregon, because they had a lot of talent. Like I said, this group was talent. Like, they had a lot of talented players. They had players that had been received like talent identification invites to go to the U.S. national youth training camp. So like this team was talented. And what the big thing though was that there were a lot of attitude and ego issues, because there were times where I would step in for the head coach because he was coaching at a high club level. So sometimes he had to go travel outside of San Francisco, and I had to step in and support him. So I'm like, yeah, happy to do it. But there were players that, yelled at each other, that were like, why didn't you go chase the ball, when they themselves like did not chase any of the previous 15 balls they lost themselves as like strikers or wingers. And in my head, I was like, there's going to be a lot of work to do. Like, let's see how it goes. And the other big issue was, all the players I promoted that I had worked with to the first team, like a lot of their mates were these kids that had huge egos. And so when I was trying, the big issue, like my assistant coach and I saw, was like, it's clear like who sort of has the hierarchy in these friendships. And like when we're saying something, we know they want to agree, but we also know like if they agree with us, they're going to have some fallout with them like during the school day, and they're going to like exclude them out of these circles. Because again, at this school, like kids were paying their parents were paying like $70,000 a year in tuition. So their circles were a little bit more, I'd say, like influential in their mind. And I mean, from the outside, they're teenagers, so how influential could it be? But like for them, it was like they needed to keep their name or status, whatever it may be that they were fighting for with these groups. And yeah, so again, like we tried implementing stuff. We had players that didn't listen. We had players that didn't care. And then we had parents starting to get in our business, and because some of them thought that because they had positions at the school or they were in certain structures, like they could tell us what to do. And I was like, no, that doesn't happen here. And so yeah, at some point we're like, you know what? My assistant coach and I were like, this isn't worth it anymore. Like this is just not worth it.
Because you kind of had like one experience where with a holistic approach, where it was person first, and then football. Football came alongside. Like life through a football kind of lens. And then the second one is like, it's football, but
with politics attached to it.
Yeah, politics attached. But then it's like you got one side of things where it's like you see the world in one way. So then because they saw a world that kind of aligns with your way, it worked out there.
Right.
And then in the other place where it's more private school, politics, this and that, they see the world one way. So then because they see the world one way, then the football...
Well, I think also like one of the big influences was that when I was coaching, like the school I was coaching in Oregon was also private, but their tuition, for example, was like $15,000 a year. Like, I'm not going to say it's like a small amount. That's still a big amount, but I want to say like in San Francisco, I had families from like Fortune 500 companies, like big investment funds, and the parents were great, but what I saw, at least from my time in Oregon with the kids and parent, is like the parent, and again, this is from my observation, also from my own like studies, not studies, but research and reading like literature, is that the parents in Oregon with their kids, they were still parents. They still like set limits. They said if that's what coach says, it's what coach goes. With this other group, it was more of, and I get it, and I kind of see why. It was like, hey, like these people are like high up in like the chain in their businesses, so they don't really have much time. So it was like, we want our kids happy. That's all we care about. We just want them to be happy because it probably takes a burden off their shoulders, something less to worry about with work probably taking priority. And so a lot of these kids, like, their parents were more like friends than parents from what I saw. And that was a huge influence in them, like not understanding us as coaches as like the time went on, as the years passed by. And it's like, again, I'm not a parent. I always told the kids when I brought this up, like, I'm not here to tell your parents how to parent. Like when you're at home, they can do whatever they want. But I'm like, when you guys are here, like you follow the rules and protocols we set. And if you don't like that, I always said the door's right there. Like we literally had like a door that walked into this thing. And I was, it was like, said, that was the nice part. But I was like, if you don't, because the thing I always try driving home with these kids is, yes, maybe one or two may go play, may get a shot at an academy or at some professional level, but they won't go deep. And I always told them, and included myself, like once we had like a clear the air talk, and I'm like, look, I told some of the guys with egos, I'm like, if you were as good as you think you were, you'd be over in Europe right now playing. And I told them, just like if I thought I was a good coach, you guys wouldn't know me. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I'd be in some top academy. But I'm like, I know I'm not a good coach. That's why I'm still here. And that was the thing I tried driving home. It was like, you guys need to understand these lessons because at some point life's going to hit you in the face and you're going to have to go get a job. And what do you think is going to happen when you guys drop the ball at a job? They're not going to shake your hand and be like, oh, don't worry, we got you. They're going to say, get out. Because they have millions of others they can bring into that same role. And so that's the approach I try taking with every team I've coached. Oregon, awesome. San Francisco, as the years dwindled by, yes, we were winning, we were having success. But for me, it was just more exhausting than having fun. At that point, my assistant coach and I were like, yeah, like, let's go. This doesn't make sense anymore.
How important was enjoyment for you, like, in what you do and what you're doing?
On the coaching side, I liked it a lot. I mean, for me, that was a big thing. Like, I remember still leaving Oregon. I'm like, well, that was a great time. But, like, yeah, I wanted to move back home. I wanted to be closer to family because I'd been away from family since, like, 2007. I saw my family and friends, like, once or twice a year for, like, a total of 10 days. Think about that. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, Like, I'd barely take vacation or holiday, I'd like being around them. Like, we had a good time. But it was fun. Like, I saw them around campus, joke with them, all that. We took, we'd go to tournaments, went up to a few Timbers games in Portland, like as a team. So that was fun. But then again, like the first few years coaching in San Francisco were enjoyable, winning. But then like as the ego started kicking in, as you one of my first bosses always said, pick your poison in all your battles. And so that's something that's like stayed with me. And, as the years went by, I'm like, does this really make much sense anymore for me?
I mean, to me, it sounds like you're doing something you enjoy,
Yeah.
And at its high,
Yeah.
like you're enjoying it, but then
I guess as long as I'm providing value, really.
you're providing value. But you're enjoying yourself with the value you're providing. But then in the background, you've kind of got simmering the fact that you are away from family, and it is difficult.
Yeah.
And there are days where that weighs more.
Yeah.
And then it's like when you, and that's always going to be in the background, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like, I guess that's sort of where I get to where I know, like, I have bigger goals. I also know, like, all right, I have bigger goals. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Are there any issues that may prevent that enjoyment, like, from dying? No? Okay, let's continue a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, I have bigger goals. I'm enjoying it. Now, are there issues creeping in where that's sort of dying down? Yeah, so then I sort of the itch starts coming back of, like, I think it's time to look for that next step.
Yeah. And then it's like, because you start to enjoy something less.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
At any point you tell me shut up, you're wrong.
No.
So the more you start to enjoy. So obviously, yes, family is one thing,
right?
And then you've got your own aspirations,
right?
I mean, we never really got into a job thinking that's our forever job. Like, we always want to do something else.
Right.
We want to, like, I mean, as you're climbing up the ranks in whatever you're doing, but you got family, goals, aspirations. Those are always in the background.
Right.
And then it's like, but then you've got enjoyment keeping you afloat, enjoyment, value.
Yeah.
And then it's like, when that shrinks and you're dealing with, like, the politics that you were dealing with and the things, then, like, the things in the background sort of start to grow more. Yeah. In a way.
Yeah, you're
and like, they start to grow more.
Yeah.
The enjoyment starts to shrink.
Yeah.
And then a new thing comes of, like, I feel like a new bubble comes in where it's like, I want to leave. And that kind of, which kind of takes over where you're at now whilst the background stuff.
Right. Well,
I don't know. That's kind of like
how. No, I mean that's spot on because like my assistant coach and I were great friends. Like I'm great friends with him. He's got his son who's 21 came out to visit me with his girlfriend last March. They stayed with me when I was over in Brentford, and then he's got a younger son and his wife. Like I'm like good friends with them. In addition to him and I working together in San Francisco, but we speak like 3-4 times a week. And the other day, I was telling about the World Cup role, and he's like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." He's like, "See," he always said like when we left that coaching role, he always said like there's gonna be bigger things for both of us, and he's always been someone like that. And I tell him like, David, I'm like, I hate you so much. He's like, why? I'm like, because every time you said something, it's turned out to be exactly right. But like him and I were chatting. He was like, think about this. He's like, if you would have made that decision, like when we had that conversation, just be like, let's get out of here. He's like, you'd probably still be there. He's like, let's say like none of those issues existed. He's like, you were enjoying your time there because he came on set my third and fourth year there as my assistant. And he's like, think about that. He's like, because if everything would have still been perfect, like you had a great relationship with most of those kids, like that would have probably kept you. And I'm like, yeah, you may be right. Because it'd been a little bit like Oregon. Like the relationships may not have been as deep as they were because I was also like an on-campus employee in Oregon and here I wasn't. But I did enjoy like 90% of the kids. Like no offense to their 10, it was just a headache. And I was like, you guys don't like me, that's fine. I mean, I'm not going to say I don't like them because I'm an adult and I can't say that. But I was like, you guys just cost me stress. And I'm like, I know you guys don't want to hear from me, so I'll keep you at arm's length. So that's fine. But
it's a different type of relationship, which is
fine. Like at the end of the day, I'm their coach, Like I knew that like I'm their coach, like I'm a personable person. So I mean there's, players that from my time in Oregon that would tell me stuff and I'm like, I always tell them like, I would always tell players, I'm like, just remember if you say anything that could be in danger, I'm going to go to the dean of students because I'm like, you guys can tell me things, but there's also a limit on what you can tell me.
Safeguarding protocol,
exactly.
Man. That's what you got to do.
So yeah,
it's part and parcel of the game with young people or vulnerable people.
So that's why I always told them, I was like, all right, like if you did something stupid, if you're going to tell me that you got drunk or something, not only am I going to tell the dean of students, but I'm going to call your parents so they're aware of this. Like, why would you tell me? I'm like, it's not me telling you. It's like a protocol I'm following. A, like you just told me something illegal you did. B, we need to make sure everything's good with you. And so the kids understood like, all right, well, Rod's personable, like he also has a line. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm not your friend,
So we're going to move because you've gone from more personal and practical and in the front line in terms of coaching and being involved in the game to moving more into the business side.
Yeah.
So like it's like on the surface, those are like two really different areas.
Yeah.
And like two complete different worlds
Yeah.
in the same world.
Yeah.
Probably like one side of Earth and another side of Earth. Like,
Yeah.
but then like, because I've been thinking about, especially with what you do with the relations and the facilitating, and at the end of the day, relationships.
That's what this business is about.
Human connection is human connection. Like, we're sitting down here talking on a podcast. It's human connection.
Right.
But then there's going to be human connection when you hold the door for someone. It's interaction, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about like. So I feel like Venn diagram. Boom.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of in the middle stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about like what did you take from coaching and from your relationship and experience with young people that you brought into the football business industry kind of world?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the relationships carrying over. So that's like the biggest thing. Like I'd say most of the success I've had in my roles now here, 2 years working like sort of at the senior level in football is like, I'd say like 90% of the deals I got done haven't even been because like I went in with a transactional mindset. It was more of like, hey, this is who I am, this is who you are, let's chat as people, like that. And then from there, they said something, and then I was like, oh, this is what I do. They're like, oh, there's a potentially like a collaboration or partnership, and it gets done like that. But I've never, we're all different. I get that as people. I have some friends that take names just to get to where they want to get to, and that's fine. That's their style. But I know that they're going to piss off 90% of the, 90% of the people they go after. The other 10% are that style, so that's where they have their success. So for them, it's a high risk, high reward. I'm the opposite way. I'm like, no, like I want to meet people. I would generally want to know what people are up to, what their, sort of what their journey has been. And then if an opportunity comes up somewhere down the road, great. If not, I don't care. I'm not there to like get something out of someone. I'm there to chat with someone. So from that aspect, it's the relationship. And then also the other thing is like now being more older and experienced and like having a network where I can add value. It's with like seeing the younger people trying to break into football. It's like, let me help you, because I know how difficult it was for me. It was like a 10-year journey. I stayed in touch with Patrick after meeting him in 2021. Like I said, I saw that post, contacted Jerry. Jerry told Patrick. Patrick's like, all right, have him call me. I called Patrick, and that was networking. See, I didn't even apply for the job. It was just like, let me have the conversation. He's like, do you want to do it? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And so now my job with like, anytime we have an internship opportunity or like a entry level role, like part-time, it's like, all right, how can we find someone? Because we all believe, the good thing is that we all share the same values, that we believe our job, in addition to what we do for the business, is to bring in younger professionals to prepare them to prepare the next generation of football professionals. That's like one of our big values as like a business. We need to make sure that we're able to bring in like interns that are in uni or post uni and want to get into it, to prepare them to get in, because we know how difficult it is to get into that market. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is interesting that kind of aspect of things. So what are some things that, obviously we talked about similarities.
Yeah.
What are some like realities that you had and lessons you learned that you could have only learned being in that kind of more business industry, commercial industry, compared to like being actually on the pitch or around the pitch?
Like, it's on the business side, friend. And again, I don't do much. Like I said, I enjoy my job the most because I'm not on the sales side. Like I don't have to like pitch like, hey, do you want, like I don't do that. I mainly manage the relationships, etc. But I would say that like having like opened that door a bit, like on the commercial side, anytime like I want to support our team, where I'm like, hey, let me go earn some commission, for example, is like there's a lot of people that like, are cold, and that's fine. They're just like, all right, what do you want? This is what you want. All right, great. There's other people that love chatting. But I would say, like on the business side, and again, I get it. It's business. Like people don't have much time. And so some people just are straight up like cold, and that's fine. Like that's part of the game, but that's not my style. So usually with that, I'm like, all right, no worries. Nice to meet you. Move on. On the coaching side, though, it's very, you have to be personable. You want to have a successful team. You have to have great relationships with your players. You have to be very personable. So I'd say those are like the two big differences. Like on the business side, it's much more like all right, get to your point. What do you want? And I'm like, I get it. It's business. On the coaching side, it's more like, hey, let's chat. What's going on? How's life? How's the family? How are the friends, etc. And in business, like some people just don't like that, and that's fine. I mean, again, that's two different worlds, two different perspectives, and you just have to adjust to what you're doing. Really,
Does a balance exist
yeah. I mean, like I said,
when comparing those two sides?
I mean, I'd say they all have their pros and cons because I'd say, I mean, not pros and cons, but I'd say that balance is a bit difficult because I've seen coaches that just are like straight up business with their teams, and that never goes well. That always ends up somehow the team falling apart or personalities clashing. Whereas over here on the business side, like sometimes you want to meet the person to like build a relationship, learn what they do, learn what value you can add. But they don't care for that at all. It's just like, all right, like I've been doing this for 30 years. What do you want? I get this every day type of approach. So to me, it's just really balancing and adjusting to what you're doing in the environment.
What do people like not realize about like the business side of football?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, one, it's that I from my interactions, there's a lot of people in positions without experience.
Okay.
And so sometimes there's a lot of headaches you deal with, a lot of things that annoy you because you're like, how is it? And again, it's not, for me, it's not like, hey, if you're the vice president of X or the CEO of X, that's great. But to me, and I have this chat with our leadership team all the time because when we have these situations, we're like, wow, there is a huge difference in seeing someone in a senior leadership position that has all the experience they got them there versus someone that was put there for whatever reason, which is fine. Connections, fulfilling an agenda. You knew that they were going to do what you wanted to do. And you can just see it in the conversation and in the work you're trying to do with them. And those usually you're like, thank you very much for your time. Take care. Because they're just headache after headache. So I'd say you have to understand like who you're working with. You have to make sure that your eyes are always open because someone's always looking to do something behind you. And it's not from a paranoid perspective, like, oh, everything. No, but I'm saying like you have to understand from the context you're in, from the conversation, from what you're trying to accomplish and pick up the cues where you're like, all right, maybe they're just wasting my time because they're trying to see what I can offer, what I can do to then go cut a deal behind my back with someone else, for example. Yeah, a lot of times we work with like via agents with ex-players or agents for whoever it may be. And sometimes we reach out because of the relationship or reach out directly to the person. But now all of a sudden the agent found out. Now they're contacting us because they want their piece of the pie. And it's like you never brought into this conversation, but all they care is about the piece of the pie. They don't care about what we're trying to do. It's like, oh, how can I make an additional buck? Which I get. They're business people. I get it and I respect it. But what I'm trying to get to is like you just have to understand who you're dealing with and what context.
Kind of like a clash of beliefs in a way in terms of
yeah, I mean, again, it's business. People
Yeah.
have to make a living. I respect that, but to me, I like doing it the ethical way.
business is very cutthroat as well.
Yeah, very cutthroat. Yeah.
How do you deal with like how have you dealt, especially like the first time that you come across it? Obviously, as you've been in the industry, it's you're gonna learn and you're gonna come across different experiences.
Right.
But I'm thinking that first time or that first few times.
Yeah.
How did you? That first time that you learned that business is cutthroat and people will try sliding under you, around you, behind you, without you seeing. How did you deal with that kind of experience?
Yeah, I'm trying to see on like the sort of like the fortune side, like I've been part of them indirectly where it wasn't me personally affected, but it was like one of our team members and maybe I was going to help them, like connect them with someone. I'm like, all right, thankfully that didn't work out because I would have probably left a very bad impression with that club to give you an example. But yeah, we had, I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, I mean, there's been some situations with some clients we were working with where they just straight up screwed over our commercial team, like straight up screwed them over. And I was from afar. I'm like, I remember talking to our CEO and I'm like, yeah, I kind of saw that coming. He's like, yeah, you were right when you made that call. I'm like, yeah, I saw that coming. And so, yeah, that happens. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these clients and stuff, like, again, they see a better deal elsewhere. So they're like, how can I get what I need to get from you in this conversation to then go cut a deal with this other person instead, knowing that I'll have leverage because you already gave me like a number or something, for example.
Okay, and
Yeah.
so it's like obviously because of your role, it's more relations.
Yeah. On the relationship
Like,
side, I've never been in a position where like I'm getting
none.
screwed. Thankfully, thankfully. But
And
yeah,
hopefully never, man.
hopefully never know. But no, like I said, I know that. I mean, my boss has shared a lot of stories from his time working in the industry, like because he's been commercial focused. Been his entire background. And yeah, there's been people that screwed him left and right, and he's learned all those lessons to like now where he's at. He's the reason. He was a CEO for a reason. He still is a CEO for a reason, because he understands how this game works. He understands like if this chess piece moves here, these are sort of the next moves that they're going to take. And so it's like always sort of knowing what could come ahead and preparing for it. And again, it's not every deal, but it's just him knowing like who some of these players are still in the game, and they're still out there, and that's fine. But you just have to know how to work with them. So,
And let's talk a little bit. Obviously, you've been at SoccerX. You are part of SoccerX in terms of so. Just for a little bit of context,
Yeah.
SoccerX is where an event, a company.
Yeah,
like,
so usually through 2-3 annual events, so big ones in Miami, bring together all the stakeholders of clubs, leagues, federations, brands, bring them to an event. We have professionals, like key influential professionals, come in, speak about the latest trends in on the commercial side of the World Cup, for example, this year, or how AI is now being used in analytics, player tracking, etc., player well-beings, like our event over in Mill. So just different topics. People come to connect. Like, all right, it's 2 days of connecting, listening to the latest trends. Maybe I'm the marketing manager at a Premier League club, and I want to learn about the latest, fan engagement strategies, from one of the best professionals, from whatever club may be doing that part of the event. But yeah, it's just one way. It's just a way for professionals to connect. There's like opportunities to to meet rights holders, which are people from all these different clubs, leagues, federations. Brands come because maybe you have the newest product in data tracking, and now you want to present it. That the head of commercial from Barcelona is going to be there, and you've been trying to break into the Spanish market, and hopefully you'll get a conversation with, Rodrigo is going to be there. Like, hopefully I can talk with him and tell him about like our latest product and do a demo for them or something like that. So it's just like a big like business and also I'd say management conference. It has both the commercial and sort of sporting side to it.
Okay, because then obviously through the relationships you built at SoccerX, you
carried over.
You carried over to Football Blackbook,
Yeah.
which is the new one.
Yeah.
And obviously you held your first event at the Den.
Yeah, that was a good event.
And stuff like that.
Great event.
So yeah, talk to me, man. First of all, how was it like taking everything you learned from one place to contributing to creating something that looks like it's gonna be a staple and continue to be able to.
Well, I know that while at SoccerX, one of the things we were looking at doing because of the feedback we were getting was 1-day events, like focus on specific areas, whether it's women's football, sponsorships, fan engagement, performance. And so again, we're like, all right, this seems like a great idea. Like, let's look at it from our own perspective. So Football Blackbook was the idea of like, all right, let's launch 1-day events. Make from a business perspective on the business side, it's like much easier to take on. You don't have to book like a big venue for 6 figures. You don't have to do all this other additional stuff that comes with like incurring expenses like on a bigger scale. So again, soccer actually, you have over 2,500 people. I guess that was a big difference for me when we walked into that first day ever event. We were expecting 120 individuals. And so when you walk, that in your head, but then when you walk in, you're always used to these big rooms, and you're like, all right, it's like one of their hospitality rooms at the Den. And it was like, all right, it's much different. You're like, you're right, that's much different. But again, our first event was focused on performance, on the latest trends in the performance world in football. So again, we had some great guests. We had speakers again from Tottenham, the head of the first team doctor from Tottenham. We had Hugo Schechter, one of the great professionals in player care.
Check out that episode.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah, I'm telling you, got to talk to his name is Doc. You got to talk to Dr. Ravi Gill. I know Hugo's been on here, so from that aspect, like they're great additions, and Dr. Ravi would be a great addition. But then we also had one of Dr. Ravi's partners. His name is Tom. He also worked at Tottenham. Now they run this group called the Opsis Group, where they for example, one of their clients is a boxer. I think his name is Daniel Dubois. boxer.
Oh, yeah.
So like they've worked with Huming Song, they've worked with boxers and other athletes across all sports, gold medalists in the Olympics. But they brought a lot of perspective. And the thing was, what I liked about that event is that we invited a lot of the local universities. We reached out to their sports management departments, said like, hey, like we know that usually these events cost money for students to go to, so a lot of the time they can't go, but our event was free. So we're like, if you guys want to market it to your students, we'd love to have them. So we had over somewhere like initially we had like 70 students register, but then out of those 70, I'd say like about 80% forgot that they had exams that day, so they couldn't come. But we did end up having some students come from the University of Brighton, Reading, some of the unis in London. So it was great for them because they loved it. They're like, when's your next event? Is there any way we can get involved to get experience like working in football? Because like they weren't sure what they want to do, but they're coming to these events to build a network. And I'm like, this is what you should be doing. Like, this is exactly what you should be doing. We also had like a performance analyst from FIFA, the first team performance from on the Austrian national team, Norway national team. So it was a great day. Like I said, people asked us like after the event, when's your next one? We want to do we want to be at your next one. We had sponsors that sponsored the event, like to get their name out there, to be on panels. So it was a great success again.
What goes into like planning these kind of events and getting these kind of people on? And
well, it's nurturing our relationships. Like I'd say 90% of the agenda for this event was just from the relationships we had. We're like, hey, this is what we're looking to do. We've already told you, yeah, okay, book me in. When's the date? Like with Hugo, I just sent him a text. I'm like, hey, would you be? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm free. He looked at his calendar. He's like, I'm open. He's like, pencil me in. I'm like, all right, cool, thanks. The downside to that was then our team got a bit cheeky and penciled him in for 2 panels when I told him it was just 1. So I'm like, I was like, what are you guys doing? But that's fine. He's a nice guy. So he gave me a bit of crap, which is fair. I'm like, I'll take it. But yeah, I told our team, I'm like, don't do that, But
okay, but they took I hear it.
But anyways, Hugo was there the whole day. Great guy again, great perspective. So I'm talking with a lot of the students, a lot of the professionals.
Yeah.
So again, it's from the panel perspective, it's just making sure you have an engaging audience because people like want to see people that are like sort of the leaders in these areas and within the football industry, whether it's performance or whatever else it may be. Then I was just working with the hospitality team at the Den, the events team. Hey, this is what we're looking to do. And the lovely thing about them is that they're so open that they gave us access to the whole stadium. So to give you an example, I asked them, is there any chance we can create content walking through the tunnel, going into the team? They're like, yeah. They're like, here, we'll open it for you. They opened it for us, left it open all day while we were there from 7 a.m. through 6 p.m. We were able to give the attendees like in sort of behind the scenes, like you can walk through the tunnel, see the dressing rooms, take a picture if you want on the where they sit. So it was a great time. So there was that. And then on the outreach, it was myself and one of our junior interns just inviting rights holders from clubs near London. We knew that in order to get people there, they probably had to be local. So we invited people from London. Some of our partners from Soccer X flew out from the States. Like one came from San Diego, for example. So they came out. Then we had some people from the Dutch League come out and speak and also take part in the event. So yeah, overall, it was just like the name that like more of our senior like partners have built through Soccer X, through their experience working in football, and then the network I've been able to grow. So,
and now, what I've been kind of, because this is where like obviously when I met you, I was like when I met you,
who is this guy?
Nah, it wasn't who, because you know what, it was in the check my vlog out. I'll link it, but. Obviously, for James, we were at the event. I vlogged my experience at that event, and James was like, "Dude, you want to do an interview?" I was like, "Yeah, come." And then you were there.
Yeah, he's like, "Go get him," and I'm like, "All right, yeah."
I was like, "Cool." I was like, "Yeah, interview, yeah."
Yeah.
And we done the interview. It was just like about James's work in football,
his program.
Yeah. And I was just answering questions about it, and then we were talking.
Yeah.
And I was like, "I'll do this." I gave you my card.
Yeah.
And then. LinkedIn developed into meeting.
Now I'm sitting here.
Yeah, again. But like, obviously, I thought you was just this. Like at first, I thought you was just this corporate guy, but I was like, this will be an interesting angle. And then I heard your story the first time, and then I was like, oh,
yeah.
So now, and then your goals, I got to know you a bit, and then it was like, so you're kind of like you're kind of like in the world of, you're in the corporate business world, but then you're in kind of like your personality is the nurturing, relationship building kind of world as well.
Yeah.
And then you got football mixed into that, and then like now you've got your. So let's talk about your player care / player liaison goals,
Yeah.
and the opportunities that you've had. And I kind of want to also like get an understanding of how you, everything you've learned, how you take it into your future approaches with player care and or / player liaison.
Yeah. Well, again, like I think, I mean, looking back, like I was talking with like the day like I got the job offer, like some of my friends were like, did you hear back? Do you never come? Because like my family and friends were like, I haven't been back to the States since I moved out here. What was it? Well, I was there one day because I went there last August, but it was really a 24-hour trip. Like I got there the day before and then flew right back the next day. It was for business.
Gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been so tired. I didn't think it was gonna be anything, but I was dead when I got back to London. But I mean, besides that, I got to see my parents and my brother last fall because they came out because my dad, my brother, and I all have September birthdays, so they came out in September. So I got to see them then. But in terms of like actually seeing my friends, they're like, when are you gonna come? So they're like, did you get the role? Are you gonna come? My parents were asking, and so I told them like, I got the role. And then it made me think like I was watching TV. I forgot what Champions League game I was watching, and it made me think like, like all that experience I built up, like because when I was working as the admissions manager and coaching that team in Oregon, on weekends I was also doing some volunteer jobs with the Portland Timbers B team as their team liaison. Like I was making sure the locker rooms were set up, the teams arrived when they had to arrive, they stepped on the field, everything was properly done. And then I also had another internship with the Eugene. I forgot their name. That's bad. What's her name? It was a team in Eugene, a USL2 team. Mm-hmm. And so I was helping them, same thing, like on their game day operations, setting up like the media booth, making sure the locker rooms were set up, the referees had the room ready, the game field was prepared. And those were just, one of them was a 3-month internship. The other one was a 6-month because I moved back to California. That's why they were so short, because I got them late in the second half of the year. And I think like all those things. And I always said like one day all this work's going to pay off. Like, again, I don't mind doing it for free because, again, advice I got during my time in uni is like, go out there and put your name out there and like, don't expect to get paid, but you'll get paid via experience. And I'm like, getting paid via experience is going to be better than earning $10, $12 the hour, like is the truth. And so, now it's paid off. Now I look ahead and I'm like, when I first came out here, like full time, this last, it was February 28th. So about a year ago, last year I arrived, I was like, is there a chance I'll work at the World Cup? And it's been in the back of my mind, but I never actually pursued it. I never was like, let me see if there's an opportunity. And then randomly one day I was on LinkedIn and I saw this team services role open up, and I started speaking with some people at FIFA, and they're like, let me put you in contact with the hiring team. I had a chat with them, like I had to do some formal interview process. So I'm like, all right, no worries, I get it. It's part of your standards. And then met with their entire like team services team, and then they called me and they're like, hey, like, you're one of our top 3 guys we wanted to hire. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I told Hugo because I messaged Hugo after. And he goes like, he's like, I definitely see why. But again, for me, it's like, and I think it's always been just a thing with me. It's like, I guess it's there, but from the outside, I don't see it, And it's like, because I guess I sort of expect just higher for myself, which is fine. Everyone like expects, something more than I guess, than what they see. But I had that conversation, I got it, and I'm like, and as I was doing the interview, as I've been just doing more research on my own of like sort of shaping where I want to go next. Yes, I like player care, but I think I'm also open to the idea of like helping run the team with like and I know that some player care roles mix in like the logistics, like setting up the hotels, the travel and all that. But I guess right now, if like I could choose one or the other, I maybe would go more towards the team liaison. And not the player care. Like I said, some have a mix.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with player care, though, isn't it? It's so broad.
It's
player
so broad,
care, and player care at West Ham is different to player care at Scunthorpe.
Right.
It's and for a whole bunch of reasons.
Yeah.
So you're going to the World Cup.
That's the thing. Yeah. Like I still think about it. So my 2 of my best mates that I was chatting with, like one of them, I was on the phone. He's like, "Are you gonna go to the pub?" I'm like, "For what?" He's like, "To celebrate." I'm like, "Why would I celebrate?" He's like, "Dude, you're gonna be working at the World Cup." I'm like, "Yeah," but then I told them, and I was like, "I'm like, this isn't an ego thing, but I'm like, it's sort of like an expectation of myself to be working there." For me, like, let's say let's say I was working in some complete, let's say I was just a fan of football and I was working in an investment job and somehow I was able to get this opportunity. I'd be like, oh, how the hell did I do that? But it's like, no, like I'm working in football. Like I know I have higher aspirations. And for me, it's just like I expect of my, and again, I told them it's not a cocky or an ego thing. It's just like knowing like where I want to get to. I'm like, I expect myself to be able to do this kind of thing, you know? And so, yeah, so he's like, and so then I was texting with my other friend on Instagram. He's like, you're not doing anything. I'm like, no. And again, he asked me why. I'm like, because it's for me, like, I expect me to be able to do this kind of thing with the experience and the abilities I have. He's like, yeah, that's fair, I guess.
It's become the standard.
It's become the standard, yeah. So, yeah, but again, I think about it because I'm like, I'll be supporting the Group C winner of the European playoffs. So, it'll
as in the playoffs to qualify? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll either be Turkey, Kosovo, Slovakia.
So they're playing in a little tournament bracket, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a team before it starts the next weekend. So they'll be playing.
Yeah, let me.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's look this up
Go
and
for
get the so UEFA World Cup qualifier playoffs. Because I remember. Okay, so you're doing Path C.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
so
C.
you're gonna be supporting whoever wins out of
Turkey, Kosovo,
Slovakia, or Romania.
Yeah. I think it'll be Turkey. I was looking at the rosters. Not that the rosters say anything, but I mean, like in terms of like the players that play at high level, like Turkey has a pretty loaded roster.
I mean, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So it's a good chance that you'll be rubbing shoulders with
my guy Arda Güler, being a huge Real Madrid supporter. I'm like, please let it be Turkey. Yeah.
Okay, and what kind of responsibility is there? Anything you're okay? Actually, first, what kind of responsibilities are going to be there?
So I'll be based at their base camp in Phoenix, Arizona. That's where they're going to be housed. I'll be supporting their what's it called? Their training, hotel, and match day logistics. So on the match day side, just making sure they're ready to go wherever they're traveling. So the conversation I'm having with FIFA is to see if I can support them like on their match day. Like I'll happily go as a volunteer because at the stadiums I'll have like the same role I have, but they'll be there to like receive the teams and support them and all that. But besides the point, the exciting thing for me is that they're in the same group as the U.S. national team. Like the winner of that will be in the same group as the U.S. men's national team. And the third group, I believe it's the final game for the U.S. It takes place in Los Angeles. And being born and raised near Los Angeles, to be able to go to that game and be there and like be like, wow, like, yeah, not there as a fan, like, because like
business.
It's like, yeah, from a work perspective, is pretty big for me. Like, it's pretty nice. Yeah, like I told my family and friends, like my friends were like, can you get us tickets? I'm like, let me get on boarded first. Let me see what this is. I'm like, I'm not gonna promise you guys anything, but I'm sure.
Can you get me tickets?
I'm sure I'll be able to help. I'm sure I'll be able to help in a capacity. No,
that's so cool, man. Yeah. And it's all culminated from everything you've done from the very start.
Well, again, it's sort of like, it's like, wow, like the big thing for me is like, it's like I'm working like on one of the biggest stages in sports, you know? And it's like to think back, like when I was a student, I would have died for something like this, like as a volunteer. Like I'll do it like whether it's like taking care of like the fans or whatever. But now it's like, hopefully this right here is going to, because like I was having a chat with a few friends last night and I'm like, I feel like I'm 95% there to get into a club into this type of role. Now I'm trying to figure out that 5%, you know?
The 5% is
just the networking. That's what it is. Yeah.
Networking, presence, portfolio.
Yeah.
That's the 5%. Yeah. And then that's I'd say that's 2.5%.
Yeah.
The other 2.5% is luck is you make your own luck.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the other 2.5%, also, I mean, this is just estimates.
Yeah.
But that is whether you want that.
Yeah.
Whether you see the other 2.5 is something being available, one, and whether that aligns with what you want. Two. Those two things. And then the other bits, the networking and luck or creating luck. But that's
I feel like
cool,
I'm there.
man.
I'm like, I think about it because I'm like, like obviously here anywhere in the world with football, but I know here in Europe where I prefer to stay like in this type of role is like I speak 3 different languages in addition to English, and I know I'm like, all right, I know I can provide support there. B, it's like I have the experience. Like I've been working with senior level executives now for over 2 years. Like, you know, I have some great relationships with some of them where I know like if they need to make a phone call, that person would put a word and be like, yeah, I know Rodrigo. Like, no brainer, go for it. you know?
No, of course, man. That's
So,
crazy, man.
so yeah.
Nah, imagine you're going from running football club in Oregon for just the kids to chill somewhere and watch
Yeah.
football to going to the World Cup.
Yeah, but I reached out to some of my I'm still in touch with a good number of my players from Oregon. So like we talk regularly. I'll send some of them a message like every few weeks, like, hey, how's life or stuff like that. Just because I know like they're younger, like they're still you know, like just like a couple days ago, I sent one to one of my good players that I had a good relationship with him and his family, and he told me like his dad's going through some like chronic health issues. Because I asked him like, hey, like, are you going to the World Cup? Because he's located close to one of the cities, and he's like, oh no, like I didn't get any tickets like in the draw. And so like he told me like his dad was like a huge supporter of mine. Like his son went through a difficult time in high school due to like a death in his family, like a close family member. So like I was there for him and his family, and now like I'm on a sole mission to make sure I can find him and his dad tickets so they can go to a match. But yeah, like a lot of these players of mine that, you know, one of them lives in Arizona. So I was talking to him the other day. It was his birthday. Just had a chat with him, and I'm like, yeah, when I'm there, like. I'm like, you can count on me. Like, if you want to come by or need tickets, I'm sure I'll be able to help you. So now it's kind of like, for me, it's kind of like being lucky to be in this position. And now sort of, as I told my friends, like, sort of this is the cheesy saying of like, you know, if they're with you from day one, they've been with you through everything. Like, they're the people you want to like support around you after and be like, I get to be part of this, so now you get to be part of this. Is a little bit of how I see it now.
I feel like it's like a full circle moment, man.
It is, yeah, it is. Like, again,
you're from the US, and then you kind of left the US
to come here,
and then
not really know what was going to happen,
and then the works brought you back to the US, for the work that you came here to do. You're going back to the US, man. That's crazy, man. Yeah,
and I'm kind of hoping, like, I mean, I know there's a few player carols open in MLS clubs. Again, I'd love to work in MLS one day, but first I need my shot out here in Europe and then I'll go down.
Yeah. No, there is a lot. I have seen a lot of MLS. I think New York Red Bulls recently hired.
New York Red Bulls, yeah, and I know. So when I last had a chat with the media liaison at Leipzig, he was like, have you had any luck with player care? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I saw one open because there was one open in their academy, New York Red Bulls. This was back in November or December. And he's like, oh, why didn't you tell me? He's like, I would have put you in touch with the person there. He's like, because we're all part of the same Red Bull group. And I'm like, I thought about that, but I'm like, I don't want to go into an academy level player care role. I want to go into a first team player care role. So he's like, that makes sense. Yeah. He's like, well, if you ever need help with the Red Bull group, you see something, he's like, let me know.
Well, if you want to know the difference between academy and first team, check out my episode with Hugo
Schechter. There you go. Yeah. I have nothing against academy, but it's just
it's different though.
It's just energy drain. I don't have that energy, you know.
Yeah, no, man.
And I know first team will be as well, but at least like in that perspective, I guess I'm working on it with adults, like adults and adults. Whereas like I feel with kids, like yes, you're not there to be like the sports psychologist and take everything on, but I just feel like it would just be much more draining working at the academy level.
Interesting. Yeah. So. As we wrap up, let's go with the generic question.
Should go for it.
It's that one piece of advice you give to people trying to break through, and I don't mean just in football, just break through.
Yeah, break through in what they're trying to do. Yeah, just I mean, I know there's not much substance in this, but I mean, it's something I've done. It's just put your head down and go for it. Like build a plan, look at what's working, look at what's not working, talk to professionals, like talk to people where you want to be in one day. And I'm not talking about like if you want to get into like a sporting director role, like go talk to like the account manager selling tickets at a club. Nothing against them, but I'm saying like look at the people of the roles that you want to go into. Look at those that have gone, look at their history, and then like reach out to them. Again, the worst they can say is no. The best case scenario, they say, yeah, let's have a chat. You'll find that most people, especially those that are like really high up in the management, like the senior roles, like for the most part are willing to chat, which I always found shocking. Like I'm like, I thought they'd just blow you off and be like, no thanks. But it's been the opposite. Like usually it's like the middle management, maybe right below them, don't really talk, where the higher, they're like, yeah, sure, I'm happy to help. But yeah, put your head down, build a plan, revise that plan. Have like a network around you where you can say like there's like, even though I'm 36, like there's still people I'll send my CV to that work in the field I want to go into, and I'll be like, what do you see? Where do you see my strengths? Where do you see like maybe some irrelevant material that I can remove? Because you as a player care professional, if I sent you this, you'd be like, I don't care about that experience, throw it out. So do that. And then again, I think the hardest thing in today's mindset with today's generation, so I'm mainly talking about like sort of, you know, the last group of kids I coached, that sort of age, not those specifically kids, but that generations that they want instant gratification. It's like if I do something, I want to see the result now, and it's like that's not how it works. Like again, I started working at 21. I didn't really break into this field until I was 33, 34. And now I'm sort of like everything before then, though, has paid off into where I'm at now. And so now, like, at least I'm in a position to, like, build long-term what I want to do. Like, I'm greatly positioned to do that. But, yeah, just understand that it's going to come with its highs and lows. Every time you're on a super high, just understand that at some point the low comes. And when the low comes, you just have to be prepared to accept it, fight it, and keep going. You're going to keep punched over and over and over. Even at your highs, you're going to get punched. And you just got to keep going. That's really it. Like the people that make it to where they want to make it, it's because they just roll with the punches and go. Really, that's it. That's the secret.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Take that in, man. Implement it to however. And obviously, we start with a little bit of reflection. We end with it. What have you gained or not gained sitting down here with me today?
I guess just hearing all this out loud, like I guess it rolls through my mind. Not like it rolls through my mind when like my friends like ask me stuff, like when they ask me like, "Oh, you didn't go to the pub because you got this job." Like, I never really thought about it. Like, oh, like I need to go celebrate, but things like that. And yeah, again, I guess it's just sharing like the knowledge I have. Not that I have much or anything, but it's just like, yeah. I mean, what I can share is hopefully will help someone that is willing to listen to what I just shared, everything. But yeah, it's just, I always believe giving back is probably one of the best things you can do, because I know that the people that got me to where I'm at now gave back their time to me when I reached out to them for a conversation or for a visitor or for whatever it may be. And now it's like, all right, now I'm in a position where I can help someone and hopefully influence like their next step to where they want to get to.
All right, well, Rodrigo, thank you so much for jumping back on for a take two.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's been great to catch up and to hear your stories and to hear the development in your stories as well. So it's good to see that it's all going so well for you.
So far, so good.
And long may it continue.
Yeah.
But yeah, people, another episode wrapped up in the books. Hopefully this one makes it out.
Hopefully. Yeah.
I'll make sure it does. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to follow. Obviously, Rodrigo, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. Yeah, I mean, I'll give it. Yeah, I guess you can
description.
I'll
slap. I'll slap it in the description.
Yeah, you can say. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm a very I mean, you can follow me wherever you'd like, I guess. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Big up, people, man. We'll see you soon in the next one. I think